little bit of context before we go to Rael with her mental health story. I know that when I originally pitched the idea to Rael, she was hyped for it. She was game for it, absolutely ready for it. But the fact that she was saying to me, I've literally filled up my hard drive with all attempts to try and make a video to talk about it, and I'm too much of a perfectionist.
Yes.
I feel that wholeheartedly. I absolutely do.
My perfectionist tendencies are too strong.
Being a perfectionist can suck.
Oh god, it really can suck.
Absolutely. So without further ado, the floor is all yours, buddy. As let's talk mental health. So I guess the best way to open it up is, yeah, like what is like some of your one of your important stories about your mental health journey?
Well, I have generalized anxiety and I have depression as well. So I'm quite, you'd say, high functioning with those things. People don't tend to know when I'm doing badly with them because I can kind of go about my daily business and people wouldn't really know about it. It's more of a behind closed doors kind of thing. Yeah, it's gonna get deep, unfortunately.
Go in and open those deep, deep doors.
Deep doors of the depths.
We have a dark, dark castle. There's a dark, dark room.
Oh god, I remember that book so much. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I was about 17.
Okay.
And I've always had a lot of pushback when I've gone to the doctors and gone, I'm struggling, I might need a bit of help with this. They've always gone, well, we don't want to put you on medication because, oh, you're anxious, but can you get out of the house? And I'm just like, yeah, I go out of the house, I see people, every now and then, maybe not as much as I should do. And they said, well, you're doing fine then. What do you need medication for? It's kind of like, it's just a kind of crappy thing for them to say. If somebody comes to you going, I am struggling privately, and then they go, well, we don't want to give you medication because you don't seem ill enough to us.
Oh my god.
So I've been kind of in and out of counselling. I had counselling in university. University was the worst time for me, for my mental health.
Right.
I got on the wrong side of somebody in my class, and it just turned into my group and their group.
Right.
And it was really horrible.
They were like cliquey, like school clique-esque.
Yes. I remember one day coming in after having an argument with this person where I was trying to reach out an olive branch and going, can we go and get a coffee or whatever and just talk about this in person without the animosity, and they were just shooting me down at every opportunity for me to just extend a hand and just go, we don't have to be at each other's throats. I just remember the next day I came in and I basically was bent down in a corner near the vending machine trying to drink water and my hands were just shaking that much.
Oh, God.
I was so anxious that instead of picking normal water out of the cooler, I picked sparkling water, which tastes like liquid pins and needles to me.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's terrible, yeah.
But yeah, I had a really bad time at university. And the reason I think my depression and anxiety started in the first place was due to bullying. So, I'm one of those people I always try and nip it in the bud and just be like, can we talk about this? Can we come to some, understanding of one another?
That's it.
But, university was the worst. I remember at one point during my final major project, I didn't do coursework for months. I did it in the last 2 weeks because I was so anxious about everything that I just couldn't bring myself to do work for ages.
Nice.
I took a whole year off artwork after finishing uni.
Just because of all that.
Just because of all that, it just got so tainted for me. After all of that. But I've struggled with this. I've struggled with anxiety and depression. As I said, I got diagnosed at 17, but I think the first time I actually felt depressed was about 11 that I remember.
Jeez.
So I've had a long kind of history of it. Yeah. I think what I want to kind of say to people, as kind of advice that I should follow myself, is don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Even if you feel like you're not the most severe case. Don't think that makes you any less worthy of getting proper treatment for these kind of things.
Very true.
Your problem is just as valid as somebody else's, and don't let anybody, like this girl that kind of made my university life hell, she would always go, oh, you have no problems. You come from I have a nice family, both my parents are together, and I don't have that kind of struggle. And she would just be like, well, you have no problems, so, suck it up kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But everybody's problems are valid, and you're worthy of getting treatment and feeling better. It's not a linear thing from onset to, you're all better. It is a bit of a up and down. It's learning how to cope and learning when you're bad and when to ask for help.
That's
and
it.
Get the support that you need.
Definitely. It's a very roller coaster thing to go through, and especially coming from someone else that's also because central bits of my mental health episodes were from bullying from school as well. So knowing all that, I can relate to a lot of it. Because I know I know I talk about it in my Starting Soon and Be Right Back clips, but it was that whole... I look back at it now and I know that... I shouldn't really say it. I know that I look back at what happened to me, and sometimes I think to myself, I didn't have it nearly as bad as some other people may have had it, but that's still, like you said, it doesn't mean that what I went through was any less invalid than what other people were going through, It's different scales, different levels of events to go through, similarities yet differences, blah de blah. It was those 4... Well, it was interesting for me because I had those 4 years of day in, day out, back-to-back bullying of different kinds, where it would be... One day it would be name-calling, the next day it would be pushing me over, the next day after that would be like an odd Chinese burn on my arm, and then rinse and repeat, on and off, changing bits up all the time. And then it was for 4 years afterwards that was the hard part, where I got indoctrinated into the idea of thinking that's school life now, where I am just going to be that target, and I'm just going to have to get used to it. And then the transition from those 4 years of middle school to the 4 years at upper school hit me worse, because middle school was a place where I was victimized, and even teachers said, when I built up the courage to approach a teacher and say, I'm being bullied and I need help, the teachers gave me detention, saying that I'm leading the bullies on, and I'm being this and that to people, hence why I should be one to be punished, which was jarring, really, really jarring. And then we go over to upper school, and all of a sudden I'm welcomed. I'm allowed to be myself without any prejudice about it. The people that I was making mates with were just so natural and so kind and so like inclusive and just wanting you to be a part of everything and wanting you to be open about your experiences. And I'm like, where's the bullying at?
Yeah. It's like you're always looking around every corner.
That's it.
Thinking, when's it gonna start up again? When's it gonna come again?
That was it. And this is bearing in mind, I did not... Like, you got in comparison to me, you got diagnosed at a much younger age. What you said it was 17 you got diagnosed?
Yeah, 17, yeah.
I didn't get diagnosed until I was... 24, I think. Yeah. So I kept everything bottled in until I was 24, and then it burst. Ironically, all came out during a shift at work when all I did was go to the toilets like you would do it on any given day. It was a very quiet shift. I just went to the loo. Everything hit me like a ton of bricks and I started bawling my eyes out. And then I came out back to the front desk where I was working. I had the lead nurse that was on that night and my other receptionist that I was on with just looking at me, hearing that I had bawled my eyes out crying, but not trying to incentivize it. And then I opened up to them, and they were the first people I opened up to in bloody hell. I think that was over 10 years of keeping things bottled up by that point.
Yeah.
So
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard when you kind of keep all that kind of stuff bottled up because, as I said, I only got the diagnosis when I was 17, but the first time that I didn't understand what it was at the time and why I felt this way, but I knew that I was feeling depressed. From my memory was about 11.
Right.
And the thing is with bullying and stuff like that, I didn't realise how bad I had it until it was actually university which really woke me up because we had a project on cyberbullying on behalf of the police. And everybody, they gathered the testimonials and stuff like that from people who had been bullied, and I was just like, I don't need to gather testimonials, I have plenty of my own. Yeah. I'll do everything by the rough age that I think it happened. And we had to present it to the whole class and people from the police force as well. So when I presented it, I handed out this leaflet that I'd made, this kind of booklet of all of the experiences that I could remember of bullying. And the police officers looked at each other and their faces went white. That's how you know. I was like, shit, was it really that bad?
Jeez, yeah.
And it wasn't until probably... Sorry, let me just grab a drink. My voice is kind of...
You do what you need to do, that's fine.
I just needed to cough.
Hydrate.
That was it. I needed to cough. I've got a bit of a cold going around the house at the moment.
Oh,
it's not COVID. It's not COVID, it's just a really bad cold.
Hashtag not COVID. You heard it, chat.
Hashtag not COVID. So, one of the things that I realised a lot later that there was actually, when I was at school, I was actually a victim of a murder attempt. And I didn't realise it until much, much later on. What happened is I was in an inner city school and they decided to bring a camera crew in to this inner city school. And you don't realise how many tiny, just empathyless children are running around in inner city high schools. That want their 15 minutes of fame and that think, you know what would really, solidify our 15 minutes of fame is if we killed another student. Well, the camera crew was there. Yeah,
like the news crew were there, or like they're there, and then all of a sudden, murder takes place at school where we're doing this other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was like this hill, and there was a field on top of this hill where people used to hang out and have lunch and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And there was a load of trees and this big massive bough of a tree had come off. And about, I think it was like 4 or 5 students, all decided together they were going to pick up this bough of a tree and throw it at me down this hill. And they were all chanting, "Die, bitch, die," at me while throwing this thing at me. So it was, it was quite blatantly they wanted to kill me with that thing, if they could.
Shit.
And my brain was just like, oh, I'm used to this. This kind of shit happens every day. It's just particularly worse today. That's all it is. So I wrote it off for years. I don't even remember the people who were involved in the incident particularly. Until many years later, I'm just like, God damn. Like, they actually tried to kill me. And they would have happily have done it for 15 seconds of fame or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, you don't, when you have trauma like that, you don't realise it until, you put it out there and tell other people, and other people go, that's not normal. That's not just like standard bullying, that's something else.
Yeah, that's it, right? That's where it gets to the next stage, when it's like, no.
Yeah.
That's a line you don't cross.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how your brain protects you from that kind of stuff as well, by going, my brain wrote it off as not a big deal. But obviously thinking back on it now, just like, yeah, that is a big deal.
Right. Obviously some very, very powerful stuff. Very, very deep, powerful things that we've been open about this evening. But let's go to the next step. We've been talking about the experiences we've had that have been quite, like, memorable moments when it comes to our mental health journeys. But how did things start when you reached out for help? Like, was it that you first opened up to, like, someone close to you, or did you instantly think, no, I need to go to the professional source, like doctor level? What's your story around that?
So I kind of started way back in school, where it's just like, one of my friends told me, I was like talking to them one day, and they went, maybe you should see the school counsellor. And I lashed out at them. I was like, what are you saying? What are you saying, kind of thing. And then I went and thought about it, and I went, no, maybe I do need to talk about somebody. Talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
So I went to the school counsellor. Obviously, they weren't well trained in that kind of thing, as in secondary school they don't tend to be actually trained. I'm guessing. At least mine wasn't well trained. So it kind of started with that, and then I think between like college and university, at some point in that gap is when I went and I talked about my depression and my anxiety and got the diagnosis, kind of thing. Then in university I had counselling, and with university they actually had trained counsellors. Still not very good, to be honest. I know one of my counsellors, which is a bit of a weird, shady thing, was like, oh, I don't approve of that because I'm religious, or whatever. And I was just like, well, I didn't need to know that you were religious. This is a counselling session for my mental health.
That's it.
So I went to them, and then recently I did some counselling through, oh gosh, what was it again that I went through? I went through an online service. It wasn't like BetterHelp. It was something else. It was one of those anyway. So I kind of made a load of progress with him until he said something that was a bit unprofessional, and I was like, that made me uncomfortable. But by that point I was just like, I'm feeling better anyway about my situation. So it's always been a bit of an up and down thing. At the moment, like with winter, I went through like a seasonal depression. I tend to get that quite a bit, where it spikes in the winter. And now that I feel like it's starting to get a bit lighter outside, I'm starting to go out more.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bit of an ebb and flow sometimes with these things, but I've not been terrible with my mental health since, I'd say, university. I think as you get older, you learn more coping mechanisms and you just learn how to cope better with things. And I think after the age of about 25, your kind of emotions start to level out as well.
Yeah.
I think that's just something that naturally happens, because a lot of my worst moments with mental health were before the age of 25. Afterwards, I've felt myself leveling out a lot more. But I used to get anxious, going into work and stuff like that as well. And that's been a case of changing jobs. Sometimes you need to look at what you're doing and go, for what they're paying me, is it worth it to put up with that kind of thing?
That's it.
And that was the good thing with working for Mind. I very rarely felt anxious working for Mind. It's only because I was working in kind of the retail sector of Mind. So
Gotcha.
charity shop. So it was only really when you had people coming in being nasty. Unfortunately, every now and then, you'd get people that phone up the charity shop thinking that it's the helpline.
Right.
And you would have to talk people down on the phone. Because I think it happened about 3 times when I was there, where somebody called up the mental health, called up the shop instead of the mental health line. One of the times I picked up and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you've come through to a shop," and they put the phone down, and I was just like, shit, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I was always just like, I'm really sorry, but wherever you've got this number from, you've got the wrong number. You've come through to a shop. I'm not a trained mental health professional. I can put you onto the proper helpline if you just give me a minute so I can, get the number for you. And that mostly worked. But every now and then you would have to deal with that kind of thing, and that could get stressful. But no, they're very good to work for in terms of mental health, because they're a mental health charity. They obviously understand. Pretty much everybody that works there, even the higher ups, have had their own mental health experiences. So working for them really gave me confidence as well, because I went from the job that I did before that was bartending, being behind the bar at a pub that was very high anxiety.
I can imagine. Yeah.
At first I was just like, this is so high anxiety that I don't even kind of feel the anxiety anymore. But then
it just overloads it to the point of like I'm mute to it.
Yeah. But then over time it kind of was just like, no, I can't keep doing this. So I went to volunteer for Mind. And then through that they thought I'd be good for management, so they put me forward for a management position.
Nice.
So I went from the 2 jobs that I'd kind of had before Mind was, I did my freelance art stuff. I did housekeeping, working behind a bar, and then I went up to like management. So it was just the fact that they saw the potential and they acted on the potential.
Yeah.
And you know, you got praised when things were good as well.
That's it.
I think that's a very simple thing that doesn't happen a lot in jobs these days, is you need to, when something's going good, you just need to be like, yeah, you did good. You did good that day, you know.
That's it.
Yeah, you know, your takings were really good, or, you know, or jobs these days seem to focus on the things that you're not doing well.
Yeah, so you haven't met quota, or I noticed you didn't do as much as this person did, or like, and instead of asking then the question of is anything wrong, or do you want to talk about anything, and opening up a door, but because there could be something going on, you don't know. It's just, oh, your numbers don't match the numbers you should be doing, therefore we're just going to remind you, yeah, you're doing a bad job. And that's, being reminded about that on the regular is just not helpful. Whilst if you were just like, I'm not saying all the time, but when you know it's a very high impact, highly stressful day, all sorts are going on, you're on edge potentially all the time, got things happening left, right and centre, the least you can have, and it doesn't matter whether it comes from a colleague or someone who's slightly higher up the rung or at the top of the rung, just simply saying you did a good job. Like, a simple sentence could just make your day.
Yeah, it's just as simple as that. It's praise the behaviour that you want to see. That's what I struggled with a lot of, well, my other two jobs, where I was doing housekeeping and I was doing behind the bar work, is I'm a slow worker. I either do things slow and right, or I do things fast and wrong.
That's it, yeah.
And I was put under a lot of stress, especially with housekeeping. You got about half an hour to clean a full room by yourself. And if you didn't stick to that, you'd have the boss breathing down your neck. You know, he would literally watch the clock on the wall and, like, look at you and be like, you're not working fast enough. And once I was sweeping the floor, and he was walking through the bit that I was sweeping, and then he said, oh, if you don't go faster than this, I don't know what we're going to have to do with you. And I felt like in my head just like, well, move your ass out the way then.
That's it.
I can get it bloody sweat faster if you just keep out of my way.
That's it. Like, it's my room to clean, get the hell out of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bloody
it was just
hell.
Because it was an inn, they had a bar area as well, and it was the back of the bar, and he kept like walking through and walking in front of me as I was trying to sweep, and I'm just like, well, you're not helping me do this job any quicker, dude.
That's it. Oh my god. Oh, the pain of that.
Yeah, the praise just goes a long way in making the job feel more worthwhile.
Heck yeah. Because I know a lovely experience I had at work, and for those who don't know in chat, I work as part of the NHS, still work there. It's coming up to 8 years now as part of the NHS. I was doing a weekend shift at the reception of our walk-in centre service that we run, and it wasn't a busy day at all. We had this mum with her little girl, bless her, that had come down to the surgery because the little girl weren't doing so great. I helped book them in, get them all sorted out. Luckily, they were the only ones there, so we got called straight through, saw a dog, got sorted, and that was great. But before they went, Mum was heading to the door and saying like, "Oh, come on, dear, we'll head off." And like, and Mum thanked us. Before that little girl left, she was insistent that she gave me something. She came down with a pen and a series of My Little Pony sticky notes. And so all she did was write on the sticky note, "Thank you," and gave me that sticky note.
Oh, that is so sweet.
It was so beautiful. It brought me to tears. Like, I had to go around the back and just like have tears of happiness, because that was genuinely so cute and so precious. And I think the awesome part of that story is as well, I've still got the sticky note in my room, and I've actually looked after it just as a reminder of, like, even just a random person that you can just do as part of your job, just helping them out with whatever they need doing, can be so grateful enough to do something like that for you. Like, that's insane. So it just goes to show again, tiniest little bit of effort goes a hell of a long way to just help reinforce the idea that you are welcomed, you are doing a good job, you are capable, you know. It just gives you all the reinforcement and all the uplifting thoughts that you should be having. Because at the end of the day, they don't... Obviously, no one in a workplace wants a bad worker, but if you were that bad, you wouldn't be there. Just put it that way. You wouldn't have hired me in the first place. But no, it's very, very, very powerful how simple words or simple sentence can just be everything.
Yeah, because I remember once there was somebody who came in and she bought a pair of shoes, and then the thing is with charity shop work is sometimes people swap labels on things to try and get them cheaper. And then she brought another pair of shoes to the till and said, oh, they got £3 on them. But these were a very good make of shoes, and they were in very good condition.
Right.
And I was actually upstairs at the time doing management stuff upstairs, and I had to come down and put some stuff out on the shelves. And the till worker was having a conversation, and he kind of gestured me over, saying, you know, this lady is having a problem because she's shown me these shoes, but the label isn't right. He said, I know the brand of those shoes, I know that they're good shoes, and that the manager wouldn't put them on at that price. So, you know, I went, you know, I can get the price list down from upstairs and show you that they shouldn't be that price. So I did that. I got the price list down, showed her what price they should have been. And oh, she cried. She was crying, going, you'd let me leave the shop without shoes? And I'm just like, you know, it would have been different if it was something like a pair of kind of cheapish trainers or something like that, but these were high-heeled shoes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if you need shoes that badly, you're not going to go for high heels.
That's it, mate.
And then she was just trying to barter us down to the price that was on them, which we already knew. We could tell that the price tag looked peeled up. It looked like it had been put on there, that she'd put it on there. But of course you can't say that in front of the customer. You've got to say,
Of course.
you know, you've got to say, I'm sorry that, you know, it's been priced up wrong. I'm really sorry for the misunderstanding, but these shoes are not that price. And I remember customers coming up to us afterwards saying, you handled that really well. It is just flat out fraud.
Yeah.
Happened a lot. It happened a lot. But never to that intensity. She cried. Like, she called us cruel. Even the guy on the till, she even basically pulled the gender card out on him.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it was fraud and a bit of gaslighting. It was quite an experience. I was so angry that she'd said these horrible things about the volunteer that we had on the till. I was actually shaking behind the till.
Yeah.
Like, trying to contain my rage and just, sorry, be as professional as possible. And then I had another incident where somebody was trying to return a watch because it was broken. And those watches had been frequently pinched in the shop. So I was like, okay, if you can provide me a receipt, then I can swap it for you, no problem. And he was just like, oh, but I bought it from here, just like, yeah, but I need to see a receipt to make sure that, you know.
Yeah, but it's legit, you know. That
it's legit. And he was just like, it's disgusting, and he threw the watch at me. And was saying how horrible I was for not trading this watch in. He just lost his crap, basically.
Oh,
Thankfully,
God.
it was a very short outburst, and he burst out of the shop and he was shouting in the streets for people to boycott the shop because I wouldn't replace this watch without a receipt. And then there was a young couple in, and they came up and they were just like, you handled that really well. The guy was a bit of a loose cannon. Don't worry about it. You were really professional. So, yeah, it's just things like that when people see things going wrong as well in a job, and they back you up and say, you did really well with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a staff member or anything. Just anybody just giving you a little bit of praise for the job that you do.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Because that just, after kind of an experience like that, you're usually like, it usually puts you in a sour mood, doesn't it? When you have an awkward person like that. But then when somebody says, you know, you dealt with that right, that's exactly how you should have dealt with it, you were not in the wrong whatsoever, it just really, you know, it's really nice to be backed up like that.
It is very nice to be like that. It's happened with me as well. Like we've had some pretty sketchy patients because you hear the stories all the time of NHS abuse and everything else. I've been a victim of quite a few things. I think two of the most savage moments I had. I had one patient accuse me of racism because they thought I was prioritizing someone of my skin tone over them, which was not the case. Because we were running the walk-in centre at the same time that we were running our actual GP surgery clinics.
Yeah.
Because they saw someone just book in, go in, and get sorted. They thought, oh, they've been prioritised over me, but that wasn't the case at all. And they wouldn't take the explanation from me for granted. They just immediately slapped the racism card, put a complaint in.
Yeah.
That was one of them. The other one, which I remember clearly because it's still like the worst thing that's ever been targeted towards me. And it was when so to picture the scenario, you had a mum with her child that I booked in to the walk-in centre because the child wasn't feeling great.
Yeah.
Simple as. And then they explained to me the child's symptoms. It was like the seasonal cold flu symptoms, regular bits. This was years before COVID, by the way. Don't get worried about that. So I booked them in, they sat down, everything was happy, proper good. Dad comes in. I think nothing of it. It's like, oh, okay, he's probably parking the car, it's fine, it's all good. And then it's been not even 10 minutes of them waiting. And the dad comes at me curious of where they are on the list. I let them know. I apologise to him because that day was very busy. Like, basically it was hard to even find a seat in the waiting room that day because of how busy it was. And then he starts blagging at me saying, why aren't you prioritising children? And I had to explain to him our policy, which is we do prioritise children if they have symptoms that are of in need of urgent priority. Like if she booked in And I could tell, and Mum was worried that they had like severe chest pains, for example, or if they were breathing erratically and could not control it. Of course, like I would urgently get you in, push come to shove, I'll knock on the doctor's door, get you straight into the doctor's room and we're done, right? Immediately. I understand that.
Yeah.
She has a common cold and flu symptoms, she's running around, she's happy as Larry, everything's okay, apart from those symptoms she has. And so the dad wanted her prioritised just because I think she was 3?
Yeah.
If I remember. So obviously I'm just explaining it to the dad. This is our policy. This is how it goes. If her symptoms are different, please let me know. Because if it is a fact that her symptoms are worse than what Mum explained, absolutely, I'll change priority right now. But I need to understand the context because what I'm seeing is not what you're relaying to me.
Yes.
And so I just opened up the gate for the conversation to get that information across. Instead, he goes whole hog, hitting me with, this is a form of child abuse, you're a child abuser, how dare you, as if to make me feel... Oh my God. Literally making me feel like I'm on the same level of other child abusers that are in jail. And I'm thinking,
awful.
This is terrible. But...
That is awful.
I held my footing and I stayed still. I just let him go with all this and I just stood there because I knew this was all bollocks.
Yeah.
And luckily at that time, I think like my filter was off, so I just let this just go over my head and carry on. The good thing is he's shouting at the top of his voice to get everyone's attention. I had my colleagues, I had my supervisor, who's the head of reception on that day, come out the front, ask the same thing. He basically shouts at her the same thing he's shouting at me, saying, he's a child abuser, he's not prioritising my child. I point out the child on my system and all the symptoms I wrote down. We pointed out the child in the waiting room and how healthy she looked at the time. My colleague immediately backed me up. He keeps going now at my colleague on top of me. And then what happened next was mind-blowingly brilliant. Not just did a doctor who was about to call the next patient come over to understand the situation and back us up, also the other patients that were waiting patiently, like it wasn't everyone, but it felt as if the majority of them just stood up, just telling this guy, stop it, you're wrong in every capacity. And these are patients that are with kids, not with kids, and they all understand the logic of it. And he's gone completely bananas.
Yeah.
Effectively, without going any deeper, he wouldn't stop. He was asked to leave the building, or else would get the police involved. He left the building with his child, so his child was never seen.
Yeah.
And he then sent in a letter of complaint, trying to still bring forward the argument of I'm a child abuser because I'm doing my job, but apparently my job wasn't right, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Management immediately responded with it, saying no, the colleague in question was working correctly, was stating the truth on every facet. You weren't accepting it all. Guess what? Your entire family is now removed from our books and cannot re-register with the surgery. Good luck.
Yes. That's the way to do it.
And that's it, right? Like, I did everything. That was like the worst form of abuse I've had. Luckily, during the event, I was fine. Like, during it, I was absolutely fine. Afterwards, and immediately afterwards, I felt okay. But I know that when I went home that night, I felt it came on late.
Yes.
It was a delayed came on. That was it. Like, I was home. I think I was working on something at the time, and then I just thought to myself, I can't. But again, instead of bottling up, I just spoke to. This was before I got with Heather, so I think I was on the phone to my best mate, and I just let them know of what happened, just to get it out, really. And even my best mate's there, just going, "No, he's a prick. You did everything right. You're as far off from a child abuser as I could think of."
Yes.
And it's like, that's the level where some people can go, you know.
Yeah.
again, like even with that experience, talking about it so that you don't keep it bottled up, and understanding what you can do to control that situation. And again, the praise you get from people saying you did right and you did good and you should be proud of yourself for standing there and doing what you did.
Yeah.
Those things were just what helped tremendously post that situation, you know. And I think that brings us to a really nice idea for our closing thoughts on this. I know at the beginning you had a thing about your mental health where you said, this is what I would tell myself if I was talking to myself from years gone by. But if you had a piece of advice that you could give out to, be it anyone in chat, be it yourself if you were talking to a younger version of yourself, or anyone for that matter, what would be your advice when it comes to reaching out and being open and going through things like this?
Yeah, I think to kind of, I suppose, reiterate the point that I made before is don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Sometimes you have a better insight into how, well, you have a better insight to how you're feeling than anyone else. And if anyone else is just like, oh, you've got nothing to be depressed about, no. Depression is, you know, it's brain chemicals. You don't have to have something to be depressed about. And also, like, if you're in a really bad place and you're thinking about doing something drastic, you don't have to live for yourself. You can live for your pet. You can live for a friend. You can live for a houseplant if you want. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, as long as there's something that you can go, that thing without me is going to, you know, suffer, or, you know, live for that thing. You know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter how sociably acceptable that thing is. Could be that you just want to watch the next episode of that anime that you really want to watch, and then you find something else. You know, just keep yourself going by thinking, what is it I'm going to miss out on, and what things need me. I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've heard floating around, is just, yeah. And I think that's what got me through the worst bits, is just, well, if I don't want to be around right now, there's other people that do want me to be around right now, and I'm going to stay around for them.
Brilliant. I agree with that. That's a very moving thought.
Even if you don't get help for yourself, do it for the people that are around you, because they want you to be better. They want you to feel content and feel happy.
That's it. It's like, I might end up reiterating this when I have other guests on as well. But greatest piece of advice I was ever given was from my granddad. Rest in peace to him. Who, one of the very last times I saw him before he went into hospital and passed away, he gave me a bit of advice when I was younger that I didn't think I really got at first, but ever since I went through like opening up and doing things and getting places now with my life and mental health and all that, I get it a lot more. And the advice he gave me was to face your fears and live your dreams. And it was a whole idea of, in order to, if you know that there's something you want to achieve and go for and strive for, and you're terrified of the steps you might have to go through to get to that point, and it could be anything. It could be a matter of you have to start as a dishwasher before you become the head chef. It might be that you're terrified that, oh, I've gone through all these traumatic experiences and I'm scared about opening up and going through that journey because it's going to open up a lot of memories and moments from those times that I'm trying to keep away and all that. But in some cases, keeping that bottled is going to do you way more harm than it's going to ever do good. So as soon as you face it in any capacity, whether it's just talking to someone, whether it's doing something for yourself, or like Rael said, doing it because someone else would want you to do it, because someone else would want you to be happy and be in that moment and achieve that goal. When you take that first step forward, you're on that road, and then before you know it, dreams come reality, and you're in that place of happiness. You're in that place of beauty. And especially, it means a lot more, that phrase means a lot more to me now, simply because of what I know Granddad's gone through after learning what he's gone through from my mum and the experiences they've had. My granddad giving that piece of advice to me was everything. I look at him as my hero now simply because of that little bit of advice, but it's so true, and it can ring so many bells for people. So that's a little bit of a explosive granddadly advice for everyone as well, on top of all the things, which is good. I don't think I would do past self. Like, it was nice he said on stream, just because I might have become a different person altogether and all that. Hard to say, but yeah, even with all the bad in the past, at least I know how to listen to others if they want someone to talk to, if this all makes sense. Absolutely, Rave. It makes sense to me. Absolutely makes sense to me.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like, weirdly, without the bullying, I might not have become an artist. Because that's one of the things where people wouldn't bullying when they saw me drawing. They just wanted to watch me drawing. And hence why I kind of became a streamer and stuff and stream drawing. Because I'm so used to having people look over my shoulder while drawing that I was just like, well, I might as well do this for a little side thing.
Yeah. And now look at you.
Yeah, now look at me.
VTubing, streaming, having a laugh on Don't Starve.
Yeah, and hopefully someday I'll actually kind of become more than an apprentice tattoo artist and become a full-blown tattoo artist.
Hell yeah. That'd be brilliant to see. The journey is on.
The journey.
The journey is on.
I just need to keep fighting against COVID and all of the...
Oh yeah.
All of the stuff that's cropped up with that, and just hope beyond hope that we come out the other side of it.
That's it.
And practice makes perfect. It's just hard when you need people.
Yeah, you need people to practice in order to be perfect.
Yes. There's only so much a piece of plastic can do, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly, yeah. But yes, we just kidnap them.
Kidnap them. You're going to get a new tattoo whether you like it or not.
Now you'd be like one of those creepy... You'd be like one of these people that's in the streets, like with your hood up, dark clothing, just going, "Your skin looks ripe for the tattoo."
Oh yes, lovely virgin skin you have there.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, untouched by the pen. Ooh.
Untouched by the stabby stabs. Ooh. Would you come in for a therapeutic dabbing session?
Would you like to see my choice of weaponry?
My different sizes of needles. Would you like a curved magnum?
And intimidating.
What do you think, a curved magnum? Or a round shader? Who knows?
Oh, good times. Well, that's a lovely way to end things off, I think, for this evening, with all the streamy fun times. Ladies and gents, can we get some lovely messages as well as some sheep in chat for my lovely guest this evening. You can catch her. Actually, plug your stuff, Rael. When can people see you, and where can they see you on Twitch?
I'm on Twitch at. You see my name in chat.
It's right there.
You see it's right there.
It's right there.
I stream on Mondays and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. GMT. Mondays I do gaming streams. At the moment I'm doing Don't Starve. And on the Wednesdays I do art streams where I work on Tattoo Flash. I work on just a bunch of things, really. It just depends on what flavour of art stream I want to do that week. So yes, that's where you can catch me. I'm
Beautiful.
Also quite active on the Twitter as well. If you want to join me over there, I have my Twitter, which is at Raeldanger. Yes.
Lovely. Very lovely stuff. And with all that in mind, there's only one other thing to do. Totally have a look at a random clip from your stream. Let's go.
Oh god, I hope it's not a glitched out one. I hope it's actually a good one. Thank you. Oh god.
I do not know
this is
what
an
that
OG
is.
one. This is an OG one from when I was using my webcam as a mic.
Oh, wow.
This is one of my very first streams, folks. That was from one of my very first streams.
And now, listen to the clarity.
Listen to the dulcet tones, the clarity of my voice. It is Blue Yeti.
So, Rael ASMR when?
Rael ASMR, yes.
Oh no, that would be ASM Rael. Ooh. Doesn't quite ring, but...
No.
There's some merchandising somewhere. We just don't know where yet.
Some dangerous ASMR.
Oof.
Baby
awesome
clips,
stuff.
Baby Rael, yes.
Baby Rael.
Yeah, as I said, from my first streams as a VTuber. So, I hope I have improved dramatically since then.
I think...
It has been a while.
I always picture it as that game from Family Guy that Cleveland plays, where it's like, you never get to win, you just do a little bit better each time. That's my logic.